Hey listeners, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of The Conversation. Today, me and Les got to sit down with Kellen Erskine. He's been seen on Conan, Jimmy Kimmel, and America's Got Talent. He's a very talented, very funny comedian. And we got to sit down with Juanita Lolita, who is a local comic, and she was our feature this week. Listen, laugh, and hope you enjoy this one.
Welcome to The Conversation. Are we going?
Yeah,
We are? Hey, well, here we are. McCurdy's Comedy Theater, The Conversation. It's a conversation, Juanita.
It's a conversation.
That's right. Juanita is over here. They call her Juanita Lolita, but that's not her real name.
It is my real name.
Is it your real name?
It is my real name.
Lolita?
Yes.
Is your last real name?
It's my middle name.
Oh, okay.
Juanita. Do you not ever listen to my comedy?
I do, but I thought you made it up.
No. You want to see my driver's license?
No, that's okay. I trust you.
Juanita Lolita.
Maybe I want to see it just because I want to see it.
Juanita Lolita Mills.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was just
I'm
Mills.
coming back to you now.
Mills.
Juanita Lolita Mills.
That's right.
You have to
And
say it.
Mike is over here, as always.
Yes, I am, always.
And introduce your friend.
Tony. Hi,
Well,
Tony.
Hi, say loud.
Hey there.
Okay, she's over. She might get over here in the mic eventually. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to happen. And then we have Kellen. It's Kellen, right? Not Keelan. It's
Kellen.
Kellen Erskine.
Kellen Erskine.
He's coming. You're our headliner.
He'll be
Coming in soon.
fashionably late.
I just did the.
You are eating. I thought you were joking about that.
No, he likes
Oh, Lord.
Mike hates it when I crunch in the microphones, but I think it gives a natural feel to the green room.
It does, yeah.
Here he is.
Kellen's here.
Kellen.
Kellen's in the house.
Hey, buddy, nice to meet you.
Actually, Kellen's in the green room.
So
All this is,
Les eating chips.
well, it is. It's just, there's no pretenses to this. There's no interview. It's just our conversation.
Great.
There's our natural conversation. And actually, you know Lynn Koplitz?
I don't.
Lynn works out of the Comedy Cellar a lot in New York.
Okay.
But anyway, this was kind of her idea. You know, she thought, I've never heard that before. Her idea was actually hang microphones where they're just kind of there, but they're not there. Not that
Sure.
you're tricking anybody, but you know,
just felt wrong.
Well, she was like, after a while, the comics will forget. They'll forget there's even mics there, and they'll just be chatting.
It'll be like the government. No one will pay
But if at
attention.
any point in time you say something and you go, "Oh, I don't know, I shouldn't have said that,"
Right. Yeah. Nowadays.
just tell him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he'll that'll exit stage left. That'll
Yeah.
be right out of there.
That's what they say.
No.
I'll edit it.
You know. He
Well,
got
he keeps
it.
a file. He
got
keeps
a
that file for later.
Yeah,
That's how he makes his money.
it's called dirt and
Whatever.
blackmail. That's what that.
That's right.
Money.
So, how was last night?
It was great.
It was
yeah.
okay?
Or Wednesday night. I can't remember the last time I did Wednesday in a club,
Yeah.
but it was surprisingly fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was.
asked the crowd at one point. I stopped halfway through a joke, and I was
I
like,
know,
"What are you
so-
guys even doing here? It's Wednesday." Yeah.
It dawned on him
And,
halfway
yeah.
through the show.
It
that
did.
They
we
were just like, we're retired.
That
And I
was funny.
Like, oh, okay.
And we got a lot of people who don't have anything else to do.
Yeah. No. That.
But I'm amazed, because of course, clubs used to be Wednesday through Sunday. Some clubs were Tuesday through Sunday.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just over the past few years that comics have been coming in, even comics that have been working my place for a while, and going, and there'll be 150, 200 people in there on a Wednesday and Thursday. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
I can't believe nobody's doing this.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
I was
surprising.
like, really? They go,
Yeah.
no, not really.
Yeah.
But so yeah, well, that's good for us, I guess. As far as that goes. But
Yeah, that was funny. You should have seen that. He stopped in the middle of the show and said, wait, it's Wednesday. And then he goes, where was I?
Yeah, that was funny. It's almost
my
like you
God.
couldn't help it. You're like, what? What are you guys even doing here? And I was like, they didn't know how to respond either. They were like,
we're
what are?
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why most of the crowd will say, they called us.
Yeah.
They called us and said, would you
Amen.
like to come on Wednesday? And we said, honey, we got anything going on Wednesday?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was.
And we can be home. We do have to drive after dark. We have to take that in consideration.
Yeah.
That's a consideration here. Is that it will be after dark. Although now our weekend shows, as you've probably seen, are 6:30 and 8:50.
Sure, yeah. So not everyone.
So
can
the
get back
6:30
before
people
bedtime.
can actually make it home before dark.
Huge draw.
Big deal.
Huge.
Well, you know how that happened? Is
The time change?
the time change? No, well, not that. I know how that happened. Is that nuts? Is it nuts that we want to now change the time forever?
Change the time forever.
Yes. So is that just because people are more productive with an hour more of afternoon
No, I
than
think-
an hour
I think
more of morning?
society has
Because
gotten-
that's all that's happening, right?
Society is so lazy that they have to sit and change a clock. They can't do it. They can't function if they have to change
Juanita,
the
just
clock.
pull that microphone right up to your face. Just talk right
Like
into that.
this?
There you go.
Just
Yeah.
like that.
I wish that they would move the time back an hour, like once a month, because isn't that the best feeling when you're like, oh, I get an extra hour of sleep?
Sure.
That's right.
I always look forward to daylight savings. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like a holiday. Yeah, just the once a year.
I mean,
so
once
they
you're
should do it
doing
all
that,
the time. Yeah.
What? Just change time. Just change it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
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 I think you should spring it ahead during the middle of the workday, so you get off an hour earlier, and then put it back to normal.
I got 3 bad jokes for that. I won't touch it. I'm not touching any of it. It's not.
Why should you stop?
Well, because you're here, Juanita.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good. You know, if it,
You're editing for me.
I am editing for you. If it was Jody White, bleh, we would have just, I'd have just regurgitated that crap right out, and she would have followed suit. You know, but
She wouldn't have
whatever.
blushed and fallen off the
No,
chair.
not at all. She's married to Dale Jones. How do you blush when you're married to that guy?
Yeah,
You know,
it's true.
We saw last night. We went to the Oslo. Here is one of the our 3 professional equity theaters that they have, and they did an outdoor as you like it outdoors in the round, and it was very intimate, very small. It was only about 150 seats. I was kind of amazed. I thought it. I've been to a couple of Shakespeare's outdoors, and it's
Huge.
You know, it's 1,000. You know, I
Sure.
expected
Yeah, yeah.
it to be out on this huge lawn, but it wasn't. It was very small. But the guy who had one of the leads, me and Pam said, that's Dale Jones' younger brother. You know, that's bizarre. I don't know if you know a comic, Dale Jones, but he's a very super animated
Eccentric
character,
character.
and his show has no point
Okay.
at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you find a point in his show, you need some help. You know, if you even are thinking or trying to create a point, there is no point. It's just wild animated stuff.
Fun.
And,
Fun.
But the idea that you're watching a guy do Shakespeare,
Like
and
that?
Pam and I both went, that's Dale. You know, almost. You know, that he doesn't quite go off the loop. But and we kept picturing Dale in that part going, it would be better. It would be if Dale was doing this
Yeah.
part.
A comedian doing Shakespeare.
It would be incredible. I don't know that I've ever heard a comedian. If anybody would have done Shakespeare, it would have been Robin Williams.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
that would have been crazy.
I think Will Ferrell probably could pull it off, but he's not really a stand-up.
Yeah.
Do you remember John Panette?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He was in Hairspray for a couple years on Broadway, and he had a great story about how, because he played the mom character, you know, the plays very famous for. There's always a big male lead who plays the mother character.
Right.
John Travolta did it in the film adaptation, but he was on Broadway for a couple of years, and he said that during those 2 years, he had to have his eyebrows shaved off completely. For doing the makeup every
Of
night.
course, right,
Yeah.
right.
And he would talk about how during the day he just didn't have eyebrows for 2 years.
Could've just
And
painted
the
them.
way he described it was, he says, when your eyebrows are shaved, when people look at you, they don't know what's wrong, but they know that something isn't right.
Talk about it. I don't have eyebrows. Like I
One of these
don't.
you can't figure it.
They're just blonde little.
Just the
things
idea
here.
of a stand-up comic actually getting into character. You know, actually going through the process. I know we were talking about that one time, and there was a comic that had done a show years ago of a new play, and it was about stand-up comedy. So there was about probably 10 characters, and 7 of them are actors, and 3 are stand-up comics. They hired stand-up comics to be stand-up comics, and they go. Of course, every night before the hour, before the play, you go backstage. All the actors are getting into character. They're doing vocal warm-ups. They're doing physical warm-ups. They're getting their self dropped into character. Of course, all the stand-ups are on the loading dock smoking cigarettes and drinking beer and bitching about even having to, what does it take us so long? Why do we have to be here so early? Why? We could just show up and do our thing and leave,
Robin Williams was actually in Hamlet, and there's a 1996 Hamlet that came out. It's like 4.5 hours long, so nobody saw it. But I watched it. I watched it in college, and he's in it for. He has maybe like 15 minutes of screen time. But he totally pulls it off. But like I said, it made like $3 million.
Who played Hamlet?
It was Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw that. I didn't know Robin Williams was in that.
Yeah.
Now I got to go back and look at it.
He plays the skull. That's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Because there's the skull scene. Yeah. It's a prop comic.
It's a prop. This is 4 hours long, though?
Yeah, because they didn't cut it or anything.
Of course not,
I thought just Robin went off on one of his rants like he did.
No.
It wasn't 4 hours, but after he got done, it was 4
when
hours.
I was in college in the theater department, they did Hamlet, and my roommate played Hamlet. And just helping him with his lines, I was like, there's no way on God's green earth I could pull this off.
Oh, it's crazy, yeah. There's
one
shot that Kenneth Branagh does where there's this it's a 12-minute monologue that just slowly backs out the entire time, and it's all one take, and he's just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
12 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount that you have to have memorized. When you think of the levels, just the memorization alone,
right.
If it was just regular conversational, script like we're used to. Then it's Shakespeare. Then on top of that, you have to translate it in a way where it comes across conversation.
Like you understand what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Where this comes across like we're talking, not like you're doing Shakespeare.
Babbling.
Right.
And, I hope that while they were shooting, this didn't occur to me till just now, but I hope that when they were shooting it, like before that take, that he was just like, line.
The guy's just like, where do I start? All right.
Have you ever been in a play? Did you ever do any acting?
No, I didn't.
You, Juanita?
I did. That's how I got started in comedy. Was acting. Yeah.
What was that in? Community theater or college?
I was in a dinner theater. You're funny. You think I went to college? Okay. That could have been the funniest thing you've ever said.
Me and you, Juanita.
Right, girl.
No, I used to mow lawns for a living. Remember? But no, I did theater.
I know several college graduates.
that mowed lawns for
Yes,
a living. And waitress and waiter.
After college.
I had a liberal arts degree.
Yeah, but I loved acting because you were just a different character. It wasn't you.
Right.
So when someone signed me up for the open mic night, it freaked me out because I'm like, dang it, that's me.
I gotta be me.
It's me. I gotta be me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If they don't like it, it's all on me. But a lot of fun.
It is.
I love it.
It's definitely another world.
It is.
And I know because I just graduated. And I was heading out to Los Angeles when the last couple of years I was at University of Memphis. A guy named Stuart Margolin came. He knew the director, and he just did a guest artist thing where they come in, they pay him. He can direct whatever play he wants. He can star in it if he wants to. He can bring his wife. She can be, guest artist. If you're a celebrity, that's the greatest gig in the world. You just go to these theaters and do whatever you damn well please.
Nice.
But he came in, and who he is, and y'all may not remember this, but there was you remember an actor named James Garner?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
James Garner.
He's too young.
Yeah, you
Leave
might
him.
be too young. For
What's he
James
in?
Garner. James
What's he
Garner
in?
was
Grave right now. He died.
Yeah, he died. James Garner was probably very popular from the
Rockford
60s
Files.
until the 90s,
The Rockford
till the late
Files he was
90s.
in. Yeah,
Rockford
yeah.
File was his last thing where he played detective. He was, and
Did
he
you
was,
see the movie Maverick that had
who
Maverick? It had
Who did star in that?
Mel
Gibson.
Mel Gibson in it.
Oh yeah.
No.
I did see
It was a
that.
country movie.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he played his dad. You had to see. Never mind.
Because
Walk
there was
away.
an original. Maverick was a television series back in
Right.
the 60s, a Western, and he was the star. He was Maverick.
Okay, so
And he
he
was
played
kind of a gunslinger. But the thing about James Garner was he always did everything with a sense of humor. Everything was always tongue-in-cheek. He could never, it was never serious. And that was unusual back then
Right.
because back then the guys that were those Western guys, and Clint Eastwood was on. They were just all serious. I'll kill you,
John
guys.
Wayne. They were all John
killer.
Wayne.
They're killers, is what they are.
Yeah.
But Maverick, and he was a card shark,
Right.
And so that was kind of his character all the way through. Well, Stuart Margolin was one of those guys that got to be friends with him, was in something, and just like how Adam Sandler does. Whenever he does a movie, he likes to bring his friends. Well, James Garner was that way too, and Stewart was one of his buddies and was always always had a part in anything that he did.
Nice.
And so he had come to Memphis, and we all got to know him because he was there for 3 or 4 months, and you'd be in the play or whatever, and he'd go out drinking with us because, of course, he's trying to hit on the co-eds, and it's also part of the guest artist.
That's what they do.
Thing that they do. But anyway, so he told me, come when you graduate, if you want to come to LA, when you get there, here's how to contact me. There was a guy out there, it was an acting teacher named Jeff Corey. And Jeff Corey was in a ton of westerns and those kind of things as a side character. One of those guys that you'd recognize him if you saw him, because he'd been in so many movies,
right.
but you would never know his name in a million years, which is the perfect way to be a celebrity, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was an acting teacher, and if he took you on, he said, if he takes you and you stay with him for a year or two, to where he's a reference for you. They say the studios uses people all the time for just small roles and stuff because they know
They
that
can rely on him.
Well, yeah, they're reliable
They'll do
if
the job,
he taught
yeah.
them right. And so that was where I was headed, and then got sidetracked into the comedy in Denver, and to me, when I first did comedy at the Comedy Works, and this was 1980, 79, 80, right in there, you went and watched it for a while, to kind of go, okay, all right. And I was going, well, I've done comedic roles in plays. I've done a bunch. So I know I can make people laugh with somebody else's
Right.
stuff, but can I write stuff,
Exactly.
that will make that happen, so that was the challenge. And then once you figured out you could, kind of a thing, to me, other than there was so much work because it was the beginning of the boom, like around the late 70s, early 80s, there weren't many comedy clubs, and by mid 80s there was a comedy club in every city in the United States. So that was just right place at the right time. And acting jobs, thing I knew about acting jobs was they all end.
Right.
I mean, there's no acting job that you get that just
keep going.
keeps going unless you're
in
lucky
Cats.
enough to get on some
On
television
Cats and
show that
Broadway.
lasts 20, like Gunsmoke. You made it on Gunsmoke that lasts 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you died on Gunsmoke, or something like that. There's no shows like that now.
Right.
Nothing would last that long. And
Soap opera.
yes, a soap opera.
Susan Lucci. she's
Which
in-
soap operas now? So the long and the short of this is just stand up. There were a lot of jobs, but when I first started doing it, I just loved the freedom of it. I love the freedom of not having to stick to a script, not having to depend on a cast. and not having a cast that's depending on me, you know, to say the right thing at the right time, to be there at the right, you know, you could just kind of go where you wanted to go although with the structure, you know.
Yeah.
But
That's what's appealing about comedy to me is it's just good design. Like there are no moving parts, right? It's just you. Yeah. And like we've all done shows even where all you need is a microphone, but we've all done shows where there wasn't even a microphone, right? Where it's just you standing in front of people talking, and I love that idea. As much as I love music and plays and everything like that, there is something beautiful about the simplicity of I don't have to remember anything. Like I don't have to bring anything with me, and I can do, you know.
I was just in a play last month, actually. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
And if you miss a line, then the next person is going to miss their line because they're counting on your cue.
oh, of course.
You know, so you've got other people depending on everything you say.
Oh, of course. It's a team effort.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a team effort as opposed to being an individual,
Right.
you know, thing. I mean, it's the difference in playing football and playing tennis.
Yeah.
Play tennis, it's you, brother. It's all you. It ain't nothing but you. There's no backup.
The thing, though, the good thing about acting, though, is if they don't like you up on that stage, it's the character. It's what somebody else wrote. It has nothing to do with you. Whereas with comedy, it's like, okay,
you blame
this
the writer.
is on me. This is on me. They don't like me.
Although, even in acting, you can take a role. It's even worse. Because if you don't pull
That's
it off
true.
in acting,
That's true.
and it's a great play and a great character, you know, that's already been established. This is it's like Death of a Salesman. It's, you know, something that's it's a classic, right? Classic play. And then you suck. Well, guess what? It wasn't the play.
That's on you.
You know. Now, sometimes you can put it off on the director. Maybe the director was a bad director, and you're just following their
He
direction.
told you to do that.
Yeah,
He
you
told
think
you.
you think YouTube comments are brutal. When newspapers are writing full paragraphs how shitty you were in that play.
That's right.
That's gotta
But
suck.
at least in a play, you don't get to know that you sucked until it's over.
Over.
And that's the whole thing. That's the difference with comedy. We all know is
Comedy, you know right away.
we know how we're doing
There's
moment to moment.
It's instant
That
feedback.
instant feedback.
Yeah.
Or lack of feedback.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we can all have
Yeah.
times when we're doing great for 10, 15 minutes, and all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out from under you. You go, what the fuck happened? Y'all were all with me there for a second.
Are the
I've had
paramedics in the audience?
I don't even push the envelope, but I've had, like, when you're trying out a joke, you don't know if it's going to work or not. And I've had a joke bomb, just like nobody laughs. And then one person will go, boo. And I'm always like, no, I get it.
Yeah, you didn't have to tell me that.
Yeah, I understand what's happening. Like, I'm not arguing.
Totally didn't need
Message
you.
received, asshole.
You didn't need to interject the comment. I understood. Oh, and all these times, just so you guys know, everyone who's listening in, these times that you think that Les is in deep thought about this conversation, reality is he's eating a burger. So
He's eating a
just
sandwich.
letting you know,
Yeah.
Les
gotta
is not in deep
focus.
thought right now.
That's
He's-
that's
he's
part of
eating.
the point of this.
that no one would know you were
Well,
eating a burger.
You know what I like about this, as we've been doing this podcast, there is a point. There's no point. But the point is that I like for people to understand is that, you know, that when we're back here in the green room, sometimes we're talking about comedy, but sometimes we're talking about dogs. Sometimes we're talking about my hemorrhoids. Well, let's don't go there. Let's
Okay,
don't go there.
just so you know, I've never heard that conversation. I'm good. I'm good with that.
But you're young, see. See, we get another guy in here my age. Oh God, it's it's
medications.
It's
We're talking about
medications. and that.
medications.
We used to talk about other stuff, but it's that. And what's kind of neat in this is that some comics will be sitting there chatting, and then oh my God, they're getting ready to bring me up, and then they just go from this, and 1 minute later they're up there, doing their thing, and sometimes just talking the whole way. some comics go, hey man, I'm getting ready to go up. I need to go take a break. I want to go through my notes. Which I think that's cool to see that some comics do that and some comics don't do that. I mean, just depending,
The funniest that I saw so far was a feature named Vinny Ward, and he heard like a giant applause break right before, like during Les's set, so he thought it was his time to get up, and he's sitting where you're sitting. Because
the only reason there would be a giant applause break during my set is because it was ending. That would be the reason. They were, obviously he's done.
Yeah, he's like,
done.
Clearly, that's my time. So he jumps up and he literally ducked underneath the table and like army crawled over to the fucking stage just to get up there to realize he has another 10 minutes to go. And I was like, man.
And I need you all to know that Mike completely acted all of that out for you on the radio. On the radio, just for you.
Just imagine it.
Well, cool.
So that is. It's starting now. Starting now. Here we go. It's getting ready to happen.
Okay.
So I'm tempted to go Facebook Live.
We just did.
No.
You can.
I'm going to do Facebook Live. I'm going to put this in my pocket and videotape the audience.
Oh, good.
So that people that want to know what it's like to be a comedian can actually see what a comic sees.
I like that. We've done that before.
Have you?
Yep. Just for the fart of it.
I don't. For the fart of it.
So they only get your perspective. They never see you.
Yeah.
It's like through your eyes.
So I'm gonna do it and see what happens.
I actually was thinking of doing something through my eyes, and then oh good Lord, try to get that as a trademark.
Right.
I was like, I was coming up with foreign words and anything. But I was thinking that would be cool now if you did as a comedian, but that would be a cool concept for all kinds of jobs. Where you just have a camera mounted on someone,
like a plumber,
where you're just seeing their perspective.
Yeah, but for like a gynecologist, that wouldn't work.
No, that would work. That would work beautifully
on Pornhub. Yeah, its own channel.
And look who gave you that joke. The wrong person.
You can do that. That's nothing dirty about that, as long as you bathe.
We were thinking it. She said it. Yeah.
I know, I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say 3 Hail Marys.
Yeah.
Done if I was Catholic.
The goof is there's plenty of women that would be on board for that.
And the thing with the plumber, the camera would be in the back.
Where the crack is.
So you can see the other people.
Definitely.
Crack kills.
Definitely.
No.
Oh God, I can't even watch hockey. I can't wear my Lightning hat.
That was pathetic.
It was. We talked about it. We're still talking about it. It's in it.
The stellar season.
Right.
Stellar season.
Are you a hockey fan or a sports fan?
I don't follow sports. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who James Horner. I don't even know why.
That's my favorite because I'm the same
James
way.
Garner.
And I love giving that answer to a clear like sports fanatic. Like they just get so down. Like you follow sports like no, and like. All right.
No, I was like,
I
work.
It's like when you tell somebody you don't even know what Game of Thrones is. Like, you know what I mean? That reaction of just like Jesus.
No, so yeah, I work with Frank Caliendo every once in a while, and his audience is sports fans, and like his John Madden is so iconic.
Right.
I recently went with him to ESPN in Los Angeles. He was doing like 20 minutes on the radio, and this guy came in and everyone was like, hey, and I can't even remember his name. He was some guy who used to play for the Lakers and now his son plays on the Warriors. Like I still don't even remember his name. I was like Googling who he was, but it was interesting. While we were there, Frank was doing his thing, talking to the two hosts of the show, and they brought up the new Avengers movie, and the guy was like, I've never seen a Marvel movie. And I was like, I get it now. Like I'm you.
Yeah, exactly.
This other way around, because he said I just don't have the time.
Oh my
God.
And
that's what I say. Like about sports, even though I probably could find the time, but everybody just does what they want to do. I've seen every Marvel movie. Yeah. I've seen every Star Wars movie, and I understand that there's the reverse of that. Like this guy could look at any character and have like Thor could have walked in just like this guy.
Yeah.
And this host would have been like, who's this guy with the hammer? I don't know what's happening.
Halloween, what's happening right
What's with the big green guy? Who's he?
Exactly.
I have that problem too because I heard this joke about it where it's like I look like I either played offensive line or I stood in line for the last Star Wars movie. So I get it both sides.
That's good.
And I only pay attention to a little bit of both. You know what I mean? So they're coming up to me asking me like, hey, what do you think about the new Star Wars
I'm into
movie?
sports. I've got a lot of friends that are, but I've got a lot of friends that literally, when they come to my house for the Super Bowl, they walk in the door and go, "Okay, who's playing? What's the deal?
Yeah.
Well, what do I need to know?
Where's
You
the
know?
guacamole?
Where's the bar? Yeah. Have fun, Les.
Our Les is gonna go up and do his thing right now.
He's gonna go do his
We're
thing.
just gonna hang out.
Set the bar high, making it difficult for the rest of it. 10 to 40. What are you shaking your head? No, you know that's the truth.
He's gonna do an hour.
He will. That's what he does. You never know how long Les is going to be up on stage.
No. Especially my favorite is when he closes the show. Because like if he's like takes a vacation, and he's gone for like a couple weeks, he comes back in and he'll oh yeah, doing 25, yeah sure, 45, and then he closes the show, like does another 15, 20 minutes, and
Right? Telling everybody what's
we're all
going
just sitting
on
there like, what
this
is
entire
happening?
time.
Where's a good place to set up a camera?
That's Les.
In the back over there,
That's Les.
like to watch the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can show you right. We'll just
Okay.
pause for right now.
Here, I just have to put in my SD card first.
We'll be right back.
We're pausing.
How'd it feel in there?
They're nice. They're very nice, attentive.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing that is good about older crowds. They pay attention. they listen. They're very, but I say that I was because our crowd's here, and you saw it last night. You'll see more youth as we get into the weekend, but
okay.
you walk in there and it's 60 to 80. I mean our crowd's probably I would say 70% of our crowds are 50 to 80.
50 to
right,
80.
50 to 80. That's our core group.
Yeah.
And baby boomers. And but they really are wonderful audiences. But so I'm not playing in front of a lot of young people. We get young pockets of people, but last year we went up to my wife Pam and I went up to Boston when Jim McHugh had his Boston comedy competition.
Oh, okay.
And we've done it a few times just to go up to Boston and get out, and we'll
Sure.
judge, be a judge. And
Cool.
and Jim asked me, he goes, "Look, do you want to close one of the things, while we're doing the tallying up the votes?" I'm like, yeah, cool. And so he bounces it around where he's having it. So this time he had it in an area called Douglas Square, which there's 2 or 3 neat theaters around in there that he used in different sizes. But this is right in the middle of Harvard, Cambridge, and Tufts University.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it is the square in the middle of that. So I'm thinking, I've been hearing, especially over the past few years, of how, that kind of college student is so overly politically correct that they're super hard to play to, And so I was expecting that. But now, of course, every crowd wasn't all students, but I'm going to say 50-60% was college student, and I'll bet the rest of it were people that worked around the university, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those crowds, I mean, they were awesome. They were open-minded. I mean, you're talking about, most of the acts in this competition now are middle acts. Few headliners, mostly middles.
Okay.
And there's you'll get some peppered in there that after maybe they win one and they go to the next one, maybe they get three steps up, and that's when you get to see they only have this much time.
They were doing
yeah.
golden
Of course,
8,
yeah.
and
This
that's all
is
they
it.
have.
This is it. But still, so it's kind of like, so that there's some acts there that got 10 or 15 minutes, good minutes, but so they're fairly new. You know what I mean? So just by that, they're going to have some material that is it should turn an audience off or take
Especially
them.
a college crowd.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, these crowds were fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
And I did 20 minutes at the end of one of them, and I'd had as much fun with them as I did any crowd. But I was talking to students and stuff about that, and what they told me was they go, off campus, you're going to find the students are a lot more open-minded than they are on campus.
Sure.
And the kind of student that will come to a show on campus that will be that kind of student, they don't go to comedy clubs off campus.
No, they don't.
You know, they're coming to that show because they're expecting the comic to say something that they're going to take an issue with. You know, so there's a radical, wing of that, which was interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I say, they were, and I love it. I love hearing a comic get away with something they're not supposed to get away with somewhere. Like D.O. Hughley was just here, and of course we're all white Republicans out here, and he did a line. I can't do it justice, but it was about Michael Jackson, and are you still going to listen to his music? Now, and somehow he led into it. He goes, would you still listen to his music? How could you still listen or even sing along with Michael Jackson music? He goes, I don't know, kind of like I sing the national anthem. And, I was, the first night he did it, I was like, whoa, that was a good little gut punch. Yeah. But it got a laugh. Yeah. And it got a laugh every night. I think there was only one night that he got a little pocket of people that kind of oohed him a little bit.
Yeah.
And it followed up some Colin Kaepernick stuff that he did.
He did follow the line.
Or did after that, didn't he?
Yeah, he goes into that. He said, he did say, he's like, I'll stop listening to Michael Jackson when you stop printing Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, I'll give up Michael Jackson when you give up Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
But this girl up in she was in the quarterfinals, and she was like, she walked over and she did something that she shouldn't have been able to get away with up there. She goes, because all it's high Democrat, and she goes, I'm 21 years old, so this last presidential election was my first presidential election, so I took it very seriously. And I really researched everybody, and here's where I felt that Donald Trump was not really qualified to be president when he paid the porn star the $130,000 to keep her mouth shut. She goes, hell, the Kennedys would have had her killed for 50. He goes, he's just not physically responsible. And I was like, oh. But that got a big laugh in Kennedy Village,
Yeah.
But it was just well done.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Well, I think a well done joke
Right.
delivered well will work just about any time,
you
anywhere.
can.
Pretty much.
When it's well done.
It's got to be
If
good.
it's clever,
Yeah.
and there's hints of truth to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can.
Hard to deny it. Yeah.
That's why I kind of like the politically correct environment. I feel like it holds us as comics to a higher standard. It has to be that good now. Like the joke itself has to be so good.
Well, I look back, I when I see some of the older comics my age, from my generation, they're still out there touring and come in, and the references that I'll hear that 20, 30 years ago were no big deal, and were just kind of common stuff that everybody did. They're generally more than racial. They're gay. They're gay references.
Right.
And those are the ones that really stand out to me. That when a comic does, I go, oh man, you've really dated yourself. You really can't do that. I mean, that's not only not. It just doesn't play anymore. But it's just kind of out of our whole deal,
right? Yeah.
Unless you're just with a bunch of 60-year-old guys, hanging out, then that'll play. But otherwise, nah, you can't do that shit, But they're just doing what's funny in their generation, Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, I'm glad to see that. I'm looking up here at the hockey.
Oh yeah.
The team that beat the Lightning is still in it. Oh, this is just the second round game. This is just the beginning of the second round. Yeah. This was supposed to be us against Boston, not Columbus.
Yeah. It's game one though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now I gotta hope that Columbus wins the whole thing. That's always my deal. Whenever my team loses, whoever they lose to in a playoff, a lot of my buddies like. In baseball, we have the Rays, and we're in the same with the Yankees and the Red Sox and Baltimore. But if we get into the playoffs and the Yankees beat us, then I'm a Yankees fan the rest of the way through. And they're like, we hate the Yankees. We've always hated the Yankees. We're supposed to hate the Yankees. And I go, but if the Yankees win, it makes us look better. See, we got beat by the guys who ended up winning the World Series. I don't want to lose in the beginning of the playoffs and have they have the people that beat you lose the next
they get their ass
round.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of
Lose
gives
to the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
No, that makes sense to me. I remember when the Packers were playing against the Falcons, when the Falcons choked in the Super Bowl. They were playing in the NFC Championship.
Oh yeah, I do remember.
And I was sitting across from a Bucks fan, and I'm a Packer fan, and he's rooting for the fucking Falcons. And I'm like, how can you root for the Falcons? And he's like, oh, they never won a Super Bowl before. I'm like, that's a terrible reason to root. Like, they are in your division.
That's
like
right.
they are.
That's the reason I would have been rooting
You're
for them.
against them, but they didn't beat them to get into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like,
but still, I root
division rival.
I root for my division.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, I stick with my division because if my division wins, it makes my division the stronger division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I couldn't do that. If the Bears were going to the Super Bowl, I would be 100% Bears die all the way through. I couldn't do it. I don't know. It's just too much of a rivalry.
It's just fun.
I get
it's
it though.
Fun in some cases. You know?
Turn on my camera.
Oh yeah, go ahead and do that.
A little more coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. That was a good play last night. It wasn't great because but it was good.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun. They really did some off the wall shit and had a lot of fun with it.
A little nice event and everything.
Yeah, because Pam got season tickets to the Oslo. We've never done that because I'm bad about going to plays because when they suck, they're bad.
Is that what it is?
When a play is bad, it's bad.
It's worse than
and
anything.
it's going to be bad quickly. In other words, especially if you've been in enough theater to know what good theater is.
I mean, yeah.
Then, halfway into the first within 30 minutes of an hour and a half to 2 hour or more play,
right.
Pam and I both are going to know, and most people are going to know, ooh,
it's a rough one.
This is a rough one.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Which we went to one. We've been to 4 this year, and only one was that. Only one. And thank God the script was so good that you could kind of imagine what it would be like if there were good people doing it. But with me, and I know this will sound like ego shit, but it's true. With me in this market, because everybody knows me here like the damn weatherman.
Of course, yeah.
If I go to a play and I leave early,
oh, it looks bad.
It looks bad.
Oh.
It looks bad. I look like an ass. So if I do leave early, or Pam, we have to say, you know how many times my daughter's been in the hospital? Every bad play. Every bad play. They go, man, their daughter's in the emergency room. Seems like whenever the play's not going well, Taylor ends up hitting somebody, But
that's so funny.
It is. Because I remember in college, when I was in college there in Memphis, there was a professional theater there. I was mostly doing the university stuff.
Yeah.
But there's professional theater there, and they were doing, I can't remember the play they were doing, but one night, and I don't know if you remember Sybil Shepherd.
No.
Sybil Shepherd, she's like, we were talking about James Garner earlier.
Okay, yeah.
She was of that era, younger than James Garner.
Okay.
But she had a sitcom not that long ago, maybe 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Major star.
Wow.
And she had just been in this really cutting edge movie. I think it was called The Last Picture Show.
Okay.
I think Bo Bridges was in it. I can't remember, but you ever heard of Sybil Shepherd? Yeah. So she's from Memphis.
Okay.
So she came to this play, and she left at intermission, and it just crushed everybody in the play. I mean, they're all college kind of students, or they're pros, but they're just starting to be pros up and coming. And and everybody knew she was going to be there. She didn't just show up. They pre-knew that she was going to be there, and you're thinking Sybil Shepherd's going to be here, which means who the hell anybody could be with Peter Bogdanovich could be with her. You know, he's a big director. You know, it could be anything. And then she leaves at intermission, and everybody just so I always thought about when people know who you are, and you go to something like that. You're kind of locked in, no matter how bad it is. You know, it's like I gotta stay.
Rough.
You know,
is it worse than seeing like a bad movie?
Yeah. Well, bad movie, you can just leave.
Well, I know you can leave, but like, imagine if you did have to like sit through a whole bad movie. Is it?
I can sit through a bad movie better than I can sit through a bad play. Yeah, bad play is hard. Have you experienced that before? I have.
Oh, yeah.
I was just telling him, I go, when it's a bad play, you know about 30 minutes in that this is not going to get better.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, this is what I'm in for
you
now.
Can. That's right. You can see that between the direct. In other words, at first you sit there and going, damn, I can't believe these actors made these choices.
Right,
and then you realize there's a director that
It's
let these
more.
actors make these choices and didn't stop them.
Yeah.
So that means these same types of choices are going to be made for the next hour and a half.
Right.
At least, you know, and you're like, oh, my God.
There's this weekly comedy showcase in this theater in Mill Valley, just outside of San Francisco, and it's a place where Dana Carvey, Robin Williams lived in Mill Valley.
Oh, right.
And Dana Carvey still does. But they would show up, like once a month, they would show up at this Tuesday show to try stuff out. So everybody, like the theater was packed. Because every Tuesday there was like a 50-50 chance that one of these guys was going to be there.
Right.
And it happened one night. Robin Williams was there, and I was performing, and it was amazing. I got to meet him and everything, and he was going to be on the show later. This theater seats maybe 300 people, very intimate. You can hear everyone. So I'm on stage, and I can hear him laughing after a couple jokes. He was a very loud laugher, very great laugher. He would watch the shows, which is just amazing. So I'm like doing my set, realizing that Robin Williams is watching me, and then I started to panic, like this needs to be good enough. And then I stumbled a moment, and then I start to bomb. And then I don't hear him laughing anymore.
Oh.
So then it's in my head, like, does he not think I'm funny? Did he leave? Did I walk Robin Williams? It was just such a mind game with me. And I ended my set, a very weak set at the end. And I walk outside, because you have to walk outside to get in from the green room to the theater. And he's outside, and he's smoking. And he goes, tough crowd, huh, boss? And I was like, oh, like this is my Robin Williams story. And then he says, you know, the air conditioning's broken. You know, people don't want to laugh. It's very uncomfortable in there. And I was like, oh, now he's trying to make me feel better. Like, it's not like, I wanted to say, like, it's not like you're going to go in there and bomb because everyone's too hot.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It was just like,
trying to make you feel better.
Oh,
That's hilarious.
That's a big thing to get past. And luckily I had theater first, so I had those plays, especially an opening night, where you knew there were going to be 10 or 15 people in the audience that you cared about.
It's a lot of pressure.
Right.
That you cared. They could just be a family member, but that you cared about, you know.
Right.
And then every once in a while there'd be somebody in the audience that, like, you know, like could do something for you, you know. And boy, just I had that same thing happen at one point. I think most people do, and because you're not into what you're doing.
No, it took me completely.
Yeah,
out
you're
of it.
half your brain's thinking about them,
Right.
you know. And then there's that point where you just go, you know what, man, I'm never going to do that again. An audience is a fucking audience.
Right.
I don't care who's in it.
Very true.
I don't care. And for me, one of the ones that I embraced, way later, and so I'd done enough shows I could really embrace it, was fun, was for me, Jack Nicklaus is the best golfer pro that's ever lived.
Sure.
You know, Tiger Woods and Jack, they're the best that's ever lived. They're icons or legends. And I got hired to do this thing, golf tournament dinner thing, where they were doing a live auction. Just 5 items, and they wanted me to do the auction, and I do that sometimes, and I make it funny. You know, I make it really funny and off the cuff and
Jack Nicholson?
little nuts.
Or
Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, Jack Nicklaus. Okay.
Did I say Nicholson?
I think Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe I did. Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus.
And so the front table is Jack and his wife, and everybody at the table is a legendary golf professional. Legend. Golf Hall of Fame legend. And the other guy is the guy who owns the golf course that we're at, who's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And so I get up there, and my whole thing was I just want to see if I can make Jack laugh, because it's well known that he doesn't gratuitously give anyone anything.
Okay.
Not gratuitously. If you earn it, he'll pat you right on the back and go, good job, but you better earn it.
Right.
So that's what I expected. And the first 10 minutes I was up there, he was stone face, just stone. And I got his wife to laugh. And then I could see his face soften a little bit because Barbara laughed.
Right.
And then eventually I got him to laugh because I was messing with some guy in the back, And when he did, it was like a whoop, because when he did, he's like this, and it's one of those where the laughter hits you and you can't control it. You can tell he didn't just giggle for the fart of it. You made him laugh.
Right.
He had to laugh.
You cracked him.
You earned it. And that was really exciting. And
That's awesome.
And anytime you're standing in front of dignitaries and they'll laugh, I've always thought that just the guys who do the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes, to stand in front of that group of people and try to make them laugh, I'm like,
suck.
good God, you want to talk about a jaded bunch of people? I got hired one time when I was maybe 6 or 7 years. I just started headlining, maybe 8 years in, and it was a convention for people that book big theaters, like 5 to 10,000, 15,000 seat arenas.
Oh, shit.
People that book that. And the guy got me the gig, and it was in the town. It was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was for their southeast region there.
Right.
And he goes, this could be really cool for you. You know what I mean? Because these are people that book, And that's what he wasn't thinking about. These are the people that book the biggest celebrities on earth.
Yeah.
And you have told them they're going to be entertained tonight by a guy who grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who's been doing comedy, enough to where he's a nationally touring comic, and I have one television credit, and it's like Showtime, back when there were 8 comics in one thing, you know what I mean? That kind of shit, and when they were bringing me up, I mean, I could look at the crowd. I go, they are. I mean, they're literally shaking their heads.
Yeah.
They're like, no way.
Right.
And there was 300, 400. It was big, and they had big round tables. Every human being at the round table that had their back to me did not turn around.
Oh.
Round tables are the worst.
So that was their way of all as a group saying, don't belabor this.
Yeah.
Wrap it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I got up there and it did not go well.
No.
And about 10 minutes in, I stopped, and like you did last night with it, why are you here tonight? And I went, let me explain something to everybody here. I've been hired to do 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
40 minutes. I've been hired to do 40. Headline said, I've been hired to do 40 minutes to get paid my money. And I will be standing here 30 minutes from now. Trust me. When it comes to fight or flight, I ain't flighting. I need the money.
That's great.
That got a little bit of a laugh. You know what I mean? It got a little titter. And so I'm like, you can either get into this or not. I ain't going anywhere. Unless the guy who's going to cut me the check will say right now that I can leave and he'll still cut me the check. Do I hear it? No. Because I'm pretty sure that son of a bitch ain't in the room. Okay, so.
That's a great story. Kellen Erskine.
Just Kellen.
We'll see what happens.
Just the artist formerly known as Kellen.
Okay, here we go. I hope that went well. We are backstage now doing a live podcast.
Yeah.
Woo! There you go, Kellen.
Sound like you did great out there.
I was so nervous with this phone in my pocket.
Yeah. Did you get to do your new stuff? You did.
I did.
You
I
did.
did one.
I knew you were going to do it.
At the end, I did one new joke at the end.
Good laughs coming out of you. Well, I need to
Thank
go out
you.
here and listen to him a little
Yeah,
bit.
right.
Yeah.
you
I
know.
want to go listen too. But
Yeah, so
Yeah, we got to go scout him. We'll be back.
How many of you bought lottery tickets last year and that Mega Millions went over $1 billion? Anybody do that? Yeah, a few of you did. I did. Never bought a lottery ticket in my life, by the way. I did that. And it wasn't just me. It was on the news. There were thousands of first-time lottery ticket buyers. People lined up around buildings for hours, which is crazy in retrospect, because that means that even when that jackpot had gotten up to 990 million, most of us are still like, no, not yet. What's left after taxes? But what's crazier than that are the odds to the Mega Millions. 1 in 300 million. Those are your chances. We can't even wrap our minds around how impossibly 300 million people live in this country, okay? If they changed how they chose their winner but kept the same odds, no one would ever buy a ticket, right? If they pitched it to you like, hey, you want to play the lottery? Here's what we do. We've hidden $1 billion in a random kitchen somewhere within the United States of America. Here's the fun part. You give us $2, you get one shot to guess that address. Right? No one would even consider the thought of, well, if I give him $10, I do get 5 guesses. Maybe everyone at work wants to guess with me. If you were getting married, okay, and you found out like a week before your outdoor wedding there was going to be a 10% chance of rain, you'd still go through with it, right? Because we hear 10% chance of rain and we think, oh, that'll never happen. That's 1 in 10. That we know with those odds, that will never happen. But for some reason, they hit 1 in 300 million, and everyone's like, well, you never know. There's so many things in life that have way smaller odds, way easier odds. You can do every day, easily get a prize out of it. Okay, every hotel that I stay at, I go right to the Lost and Found and just describe things.
Thank you again for listening to yet another episode of The Conversation. Please follow us at mccurdyscomedy.com to look up all events and tickets. Also, check out Kellen Erskine at kellenerskine.com. That's KellenErskine. And also Juanita Lolita. If you really liked her set, check her out at juanitalolita.com. That's JUANITA LOLITA.com. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.